Hello everyone. I'm letting you stream in. Welcome to this new RSU Rental Scale Up episode webinar. We'll be talking about AI. 8 slides. You see, we'll do a lot of demos in the sense that we'll be talking about how many of your potential guests are now using wide arrays of AI tools to discover your rentals or not. We'll show some of these tools, we'll analyze them together. We'll also see how you can see it for yourself, right? To have an idea whether this is applying to you, how many people discover your own properties. So
Welcome to RSU by PriceLabs weekly podcast. Subscribe now.
does mean please stay until the end, because in the end we will tell you how you can use all this for yourself, for your own company. Let's get started. So as usual, I will share a few slides and I will probably struggle to find them. Let's see or not. All right. You've noticed this probably for yourself, right? You are using AI tools to ask about any kind of questions. It is changing already the way people are discovering our vacation rentals, our industry, right? How they're interacting with those. Let's have a look for themselves. So I'm Thibault. I'm the founder of Rental Scale Up, now called RSU by PriceLabs. It belongs to PriceLabs, dynamic pricing revenue management platform. And RSU, basically, we have a free newsletter every week. You can subscribe to YouTube videos. We talk to vacation rental managers, short-term rental managers. We talk about the big trends of the big players like Airbnb, Vrbo, we can come up to. We talk about new technology today, and we try to look what's happening, show to you what it may mean to you, so we can help you in your job, or help you think, tell your team, hey team, you should look into this for me. All right. So I said, so we talk about three big shifts we've noticed. We'll talk about how that's impacting the funnel, conversion funnel, right? From how people discover your rentals to how they book them. We talk about the data backing this up, and then we'll go through Google AI mode, Perplexity Travel, Comet, which is a browser, and also we talk about chatbot versus agent. Really super hands-on. The goal is that at the end of this session, you'll be able to check for yourself, for your own company, how much this is affecting your own people, how to discover your things. There's a part two to this webinar. We'll be talking how to try to influence this. But already we want to be able to talk about, is this happening to my company? How big is it? And for this, we also have David Ciccarelli, I was about to say Ciccarelli, as the CEO of Lake.com, and Uvika from Rental Scale Up. So let me stop my screen so David can present himself to you and tell us more about his own company and what he does and why he's a great speaker for today's topic, because I know he is. Go ahead.
Thanks, Thibault. Great to be here, and welcome everyone. Again, my name's David Ciccarelli, and yes, the Italian heritage is Ciccarelli, so very good. I appreciate that introduction. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Lake.com, a vacation rental platform for properties that are by or near the water. So think of lake houses, villas. Anytime there is the water, that is a great place where we're welcoming families, the pet-friendly kind of explorers that are looking to book that type of property. And this is a relatively new niche OTA, which has been up and running for 3 years. And we've recently welcomed on our 40,000th property, and looking to drive increasing amount of traffic through traditional search mechanisms, as well as gaining awareness on social media, but increasingly through these new AI discovery channels. So welcome everyone here, and looking forward to sharing some of those findings with you.
Happy to have you here, and thank you for the time. David has spent so much time with us prepping this for you today, for you also. I hope you enjoy this. And obviously from RSU, we also have Uvika. Uvika, do you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Thibault, and thank you, David, for making it today and for helping prepare this. Hi, everyone. I'm Uvika. Hopefully, if you're tuning in, you already know who I am, but I'm a part of the team responsible to getting you that newsletter every week, getting you the most important stories in the short-term rental industry. And also, if you've been keeping an eye out, I've been really firsthand doing walkthroughs of AI tools that people are using for to plan their trips, just to find out what that experience looks like, how far it can go. And yeah, I'm really excited for today. Yes. Okay, so let's start at the end. At the end, these are the three things these are the three shifts that you will have noticed, hopefully, in the duration of this webinar, through the various walkthroughs we're going to do, through the tools we're going to show you, and through also some data we're going to share with you in terms of just the sheer volume of AI usage among travelers, how people are now planning their trips, how they're finding accommodation, places to stay, even just coming up with ideas for a destination. Factoring all that in, the three biggest shifts you will notice, hopefully, through what we share is, number one, that instead of using 2 or 3 words, keywords, people have moved on to describing more detailed scenarios. We're no longer in the world where we're sharing, hey, a 3-bedroom villa in Vermont and going from there. Now we have the luxury of going into a lot more detail, and believe me, people are using it.
So let's move on to the browsing to synthesis. I think you had a great definition of what you meant by synthesis.
Right. So what we mean here is that basically used to be that when you wanted to compare, for example, some listings, you had to, maybe you were reviewing the prices on one website, and you were checking the same. You as a traveler, you would go to the direct booking website to look at the property. Like, let me check the prices somewhere else, and I want to see the reviews on Booking.com, the reviews on Vrbo, to hear different things. And now, obviously, you can just go to AI tool and say, compare these properties in just one space. Everything will be compressed, and we see this, right? The comparison on price, amenities, going through different sources, all compressed in one tab. So you can see it's also really making a difference how the speed of which information can be digested. So that's changing this. The third thing that's being changed is also we talk about this, the evaluation, since that in a way this comparison can happen, and sometimes we see the agents. Sometimes the part of the purchasing or booking can even be, or filling a form to make an inquiry, could be taken over by the tool. The tool can say, find a place like this and book the one that's that matches more my criteria. You can almost do this. We'll have big limitations because obviously, even right now, these tools can put an item in your Amazon.com basket and check out and pay for you. We all know that travel is a bit more complex, but it's still happening as well, right? Even the whole funnel is shifting. You can move on to the next slide. If Uvika, you're sharing. All right, so that's what I was saying so quickly. So used to be many people would start on Google, basically, enter a search. You search for something like vacation rentals near Lake Tahoe with hot tub and stuff like this. You would get a series of links, right? The result was a page full of links and links and links and links. And some of them, because it was paid search, for example, or organic search, usually big platforms like Airbnb, Booking would not be too bad at positioning themselves very high in the results, right, through organic or paid. So many people would end up on the OTAs. Then you go to the platforms and use the filters on search on this platform and filter out the results. And sometimes you could compare, and you can sometimes click a few properties on the platform and compare them, right? You would book. That's the traditional flow, and I don't want to say it's been like this for the last 20 years, but kind of. Here, difference now, if you go to today, with this flow we have, so this obviously still exists, right? But we have this other flow with AI tools we can talk about now on the next slide, which is what we just described, right? The search usually is further. Not to mention, if I use my voice to talk about my description, I can make it very long description what I want. I can say it's like this is 6 people. We have two small kids. Beach access. I want to talk about the concession policy, the price. I can even say within some driving distance of some place. I can see it's much more also based with something David would say is based towards the outcome, right? It's like, what do I want? I want a good time with the family. I don't necessarily want a lake house, right? So that's also part of what I want. But it's in the end, it should be thing. Because it's just easier to type all this. I can be much more demanding or precise from the get-go. So you see where I'm going. This does mean that somewhere your properties need to be able to share all this information one way or the other. Otherwise, there's no way you can find you. Next up.
All right. Well, let me jump in here and open up with a story. Actually, I wanted to share this jobs to be done framework, and some of you might have heard this before. But about 20 years ago, a fast food chain was hired to was having a simple problem. They wanted to sell more milkshakes. And they did what most companies did. They looked at the demographics as who was purchasing the milkshakes. They tested flavors, they made them thicker, and they sold them for cheaper, but nothing really meaningfully moved the sale of milkshakes. So they brought in an expert who was Clayton Christensen. Now, he was a Harvard Business School professor known for his work on innovation and increasing sales. But he did something strange when he showed up. He first off looked at the data, and the data told him something that was unexpected, that a very large percentage of milkshakes were sold between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. This was in the morning. I mean, I've never purchased one that morning, but there might be something to that. And this anomaly led through a breakthrough. Him and his team decided, well, we're going to have to go to these restaurants and see what's happening and be that kind of boots on the ground observation. And they talked to customers, and this thing, you're going in, you're coming out, just them by themselves, one person buying a milkshake. And they're like, well, do you like your milkshake? Oh, yeah, so it's great. Well, have you tried any alternatives? Well, I tried a banana, but it was mushy. I tried a bagel and it was, kind of too messy. And I tried something hot like coffee, but it was hot and then cold. And they realized, and this was the breakthrough, that in the morning, the people that were buying the milkshakes were commuters. And they were buying them not as a dessert, but as a commuter companion. The job to be done was that they had a long, boring drive that lasted about 20 to 30 minutes, and they needed something that they could hold in one hand and that would help them be full enough to kind of get them through to lunch. And so they weren't just buying the milkshake, they were quote unquote hiring it to fulfill a very specific job. You've probably heard the phrase, we don't buy a hammer and a nail. We're actually trying to, put a hole into the wall and maybe hang a painting. That's the job that we wanted to be done. And so likewise, what's the analogy? What are the jobs to be done? How does this apply to travel? Well, in the same way, if we just go to the next slide here, this is why it matters for us, especially within vacation rentals. People aren't just booking a property, but they're actually hiring it to achieve an outcome. And there's multiple jobs to be done, and it breaks down into these micro moments. The first one is when somebody thinks in the part of that travel process, is I want to know, I'm just getting some inspiration. They maybe want to discover some lakes or some beaches or maybe some national parks that match their lifestyle. So what do we need to do as property managers and providers? Well, we're trying to generate awareness of our properties and the things that you can do around there. Then the next one is like, okay, great, I want to go there. Well, they're trying to find the right particular stay. So we need to collectively increase confidence, really smooth out that discovery to decision flow. And that could come down to clear cancellation policies, all in upfront pricing. And then once that is maybe they're rounding out their trip, I want to do any kind of activities or something that might be kind of rounding out that experience, especially if it's for more than one or two nights. And then finally, I want to buy or I want to book. I want to book with confidence, knowing that there is a cancellation policy, knowing that I can make modifications if need be easily and without hassle, and that perhaps maybe even I would be rewarded for my loyalty on an ongoing basis. So that's the jobs to be done framework. And just going ahead to the next slide here, that kind of follows also that customer journey. So if there was a screen that you wanted to take a picture of or a screenshot, this would be it. The journey is increasingly conversational. We've seen how the words, Google just recently reported in their earnings report that the number of words that people are typing in is 3 times longer than traditionally. So what they used to type in was 3 or 4 words, but now it's upwards over 10 words that they're typing in. And obviously, if you look at these, as we'll share later on in the presentation, that you can actually see these in your Google Analytics or Google Search Console, these long queries where clearly people are being conversational. And it's often triggered, starts off with some inspiration. They're planning these trips 70 to 100 days out in advance. Expedia published a report a couple years ago that's certainly relevant still, that the number of pages that a traveler visits, this is back in 2023. So kind of just before ChatGPT became a thing, they were visiting 141 pages 45 days prior to travel. 141 pages. So now this conversational chat-like experience is compressing that, to use Thibault's word, as well too. Then they move on to consideration, planning, and ultimately making a booking. And this is all showing up. You can see it in your own data as well too. So that's how we can collectively apply this jobs to be done, really understanding what our travelers, our guests are looking to accomplish. All right, well, I think we're up next. Are we able to move that slide forward?
There we go.
All right, so indeed what I wanted to say quickly, and I think that's the last slide, last but one. It's happening, right? And we'll see this through the demos. It is happening. And think about this, if you think about Google has its own AI tool called Gemini, and there's 750 million users of Gemini every month. That's a lot of people. What's interesting as well is that during their Google's parent Alphabet, during their earnings call 10 days ago, said that 1 in 6 AI queries are voice or image based. What do I mean by this is, for example, if I'm typing something, I can type a few words, but obviously if you had just turned on my microphone to dictate something, talk about something, I can be way more detailed by my query. So you can see that's also changing the way people are searching, making the queries obviously longer, and I can talk about more the outcome or the jobs to be done, as David is saying. So hopefully here you see the link we're making between the behavior change and the size of it. Obviously, younger travelers use it more. And so what's interesting is not just for discovery, right? So to find pricing and deals. So it's not just like where to go, right? This notion of using this for prices as well. Again, so we talked about this, that the queries are longer and much longer, as much as 5 times longer number of words, right? So we move from like 4 words, 5 words to 20, 25, and we saw even longer with David's example. So hopefully that's telling you how big it is. If you go to the next slide, I think it's the last slide, and Uvika, it's to you, and then we jump into the tools.
Thanks, Thibault. Obviously, so what I want to get into is just the speed at which things are changing as well. We started not very long ago with ChatGPT and asking it simple questions. It'll just give us, it was like an extended search box for us. But now, if you might have heard that ChatGPT already has ads. And what's interesting is that when ChatGPT announced the introduction of ads, it rolled it out in the US first, and obviously it intends to take it global. The example that they use in the PR was of a was a travel example. In fact, an example, just perhaps a fake listing called Pueblo and Pine. So, which is interesting because that goes to show, again, that signals to how many people use AI tools for travel intents, right? It speaks to that. And when I was doing these walkthroughs very early, I was testing out, for example, Perplexity Travel, and I was testing out ChatGPT and a couple of other. For example, there was a WhatsApp AI tool called GuideGeek, and I was testing all of these, doing walkthroughs on video. One of the roadblocks that I ran into repeatedly was that there was, even though a lot of them were claiming that you could plan and book your trip, there was no checkout. And this was just a few months ago, perhaps maybe the last quarter of 2025. And now you can take a look at pretty much every chat agent, including ChatGPT, as you can see, and checkout capabilities are already available in the US for the most part, and hopefully with global rollout. So things are moving quickly. And another thing, perhaps this is time to also like start showing you things as they're happening, because one other interesting thing that I want to talk about is not just a matter of chat agents like ChatGPT. Obviously, OTAs themselves, Booking.com, and all their major OTAs are utilizing AI in many different ways, including, for example, for customer support, or whether it's natural language search, where you can go past just the filter and actually type out the thing that you're looking for, like a beach rental, specific destination for any number of people, or to even give you recommendations. So one interesting example of this was, let me stop sharing the slides so I can show you what I recently saw on Verbo not that long ago.
And if I may, you get really fast.
Of course.
So you have time.
I'm sorry, what were you saying? Sorry?
Really fast on this one because we have the time, and it's.
Oh yeah, of course. It will take just a moment. I am just trying to figure out how to share again. Okay, so really quickly, one of the things, so I just went on Verbo yesterday and I was looking for vacation rentals in Santa Clara between March 18 to 23 for 5 guests. This was just a random query. I had no plan. I was just taking a look at how the search might appear. But what's interesting is when I went to filters, one of the filters that I saw there was this: Yukon Huskies versus Santa Clara Broncos baseball, Santa Clara University, March 19. So this is actually a baseball match that's happening at the same time as the dates that I was looking up. So it actually recommended that to me as a filter so I could find properties near where the match was happening, assuming that I'm visiting probably, very likely, because of the match. And this would not come up if I had not selected these dates. So this is a really cool example of using AI to even fine-tune recommendations. What you see when you go onto an OTA for the very first time, and the second time and the third time will change, will become super dynamic. This is something Thibault has talked about in the past as well extensively. So that was what I wanted to talk about. And with that, I think we can dive into our first walkthrough of the day. And what better place to start than, if you could just give me a moment, please. Just a quick show of hands, or just anybody in the chat, maybe you can type, what's the one internet tool that you use pretty much every single day? Right? What would you say is the one thing on the internet that you use? And 3, 2, 1, it's probably this, right? Every day you go to google.com, you go to Google search, and you look up something that you have been curious about, any information you need, whether or not you're using an AI tool, doesn't matter. We know that you're probably using Google search, right? The most ubiquitous tool out there on the internet, really the Goliath, as you say, right? So your average traveler will probably end up here and look for something like, villa for, sorry, villa for five in, where should we go? I know we have somebody from Florida, so which is a big market. So let's say villa for five in Florida in June for 1 week. Let's say I am someone looking to plan a trip. Now, one thing immediately you can notice is that in the old internet, not that long ago, the first thing you would see is a list of links that have to do with what you're looking up in the moment. Probably the Airbnb link that you're seeing right now, or the kayak link, etc., depending on your location, a number of other factors, right? And you will click through each of these links, and you will click through more links within those websites, and you'll go through certain filters, and you will do your little 100 pages that we talked about. And then eventually that's the funnel that will maybe take you to the booking step, right? So there's a lot of steps, there's a lot of involvement in that way, a lot of work required from you, which is fine. Everybody was fine with that for a very long time. However, that's not the first thing that you see now when you go to Google search. The first thing you will see now in Google search is an AI overview. You don't have a choice in the matter. This is something that you just see by default, right? First thing Google will do is synthesize a bunch of information to give you what it thinks is a response to a question you are asking, right? So for a June Florida trip with 5 people, top 5 bedroom villa options with private pools are concentrated near X area or on this coast, often costing this much. Okay? If I click on show more, I already start getting information about top locations, villa types, amenities for 5 days, booking tips, just things to keep in mind when you're looking for stays. So this is not me looking for an AI helper. This is not me seeking out AI help. This is something that Google is forcing me to do in terms of AI adoption, right? And just considering the sheer volume of search, of internet search that Google handles, this matters, right? Because what Google can shape the behavior of the internet, right? There's a huge population of people using this search, and how Google forces them to behave is going to shape their culture in general. That's just inevitable at that point, right? So now here I am doing my little search in AI overview, and I see all this extensive information. Sure, I'll dive deeper in AI mode. Let's take a look what happens when I do that, right? So now is for the first time is when I see the actual AI mode interface. So far, I had not even seen that. I was just in Google search. AI was already working within there. But now I have chosen to go through the interface. So now I will see more synthesis at play, right? What does that look like? I can see, well, obviously the information, the answer to my original question, starting there. I can see the sources of this information on the right, okay? If I want to click through, if I want any evidence. I can see actual villa listings. And if I click on any one of these, what is that? That's the Google map listing of that villa, right? So now Google is taking the Google Maps listing, the content from these various websites that have information about whatever it is that I was looking for. It's taking the reviews and it's synthesizing it all in one place, saving me all this time, changing my behavior, getting me used to getting all this information in one place. Right? And that in itself is a big change in behavior. We were talking about the funnel in the beginning. We were talking about moving from keyword search to actually just talking about your intention in more detail. All of that becomes possible here, right? Now, that's what I wanted to share today with everybody. If you have to take anything away from this, it's that, when an entity as huge as Google, takes it upon itself to show you what is possible, right? Without you even asking, you will likely adopt it. So this is what your future guests are doing. Future guests are doing right now, possibly, right?
And I like what you just shown, Uvika, because you can really see here Google throwing in everything they have, like the Google Maps, the Google business profile for your company, everything is in there, right? And it's really a notion of like things you may have looked separately. I will go to the Google Maps tab, maybe I will go to look for your company business profile, everything in there. As you said, it means like sometimes we think, oh, let's look at how AI is changing the way people how people discover your rentals, and immediately we jump into ChatGPT and Perplexity. But you talk about the gorilla, right? That Google is kind of, let's say, driving an adoption in a way of people to change that behavior and expect that the answer should be like this. So hopefully that's one. And we'll talk about how to see this in your traffic later. So I think I'm going to take it from there. And now I would say let's go the other way around. Let's go to tools that are a bit more specialized on my end. So I will go and talk about Perplexity. So Perplexity, as you may know, is a competitor to ChatGPT. So one of these companies that basically want to have a brand that's going to propose you a way for you to ask questions, get more answers, and shape it the way you want, right? Perplexity. For example, I use Perplexity a lot because I find them really, really good at telling me step by step what to do when I want to fix something, in my house or software. They're really, really amazing, looking at different sources, putting great YouTube videos to do this. So it's one of these, tools we have, and you could argue whether you prefer Grok or ChatGPT Perplexity. It's not the case in point here. I just say that's one of those things. If I share Perplexity now, if I share my thing, why I'm talking about Perplexity, because they are, again, serious about travel. Hopefully you can see my screen. So if you go to Perplexity, again, thanks, David. It does look like ChatGPT or anything you could ask a query. What's interesting is on the left-hand side, you will see that you can see the verticals they've developed, like sports, academic, finance, and travel. So it does mean they know that our industry is one, of course, see that it's a great use case for AI tools, right? In fact, here, for example, here on Barcelona, they were just suggesting Barcelona, probably based on my IP. I'm in Europe. I live near Amsterdam, in Netherlands. And here, it's kind of very similar to what we saw earlier. I don't want to say like what to visit, a 5-day itinerary, for example, but just based on Barcelona, I guess, as a query, right? So it's not much, but getting around and dishes and stuff like this. Obviously, this is where I could say find 5 STRs. What I say? Let's call this vacation rentals. There, not expensive. So if I did this, of course, it would basically, as we know, in here, just like on ChatGPT and this stuff, look at some kind of like query and give me some kind of stuff. But what I want to show more is that so again, they're doing this, and or can follow up here with base neighborhoods for vacation rentals. So are getting already this kind of like results where they're synthesizing results and showing some things. What's interesting already to look, they look a lot about, I didn't say anything, right? They're like kayak, Airbnb, booking. So it's interesting why on one hand, because we already see that people say, oh, it's a new way to discover short-term rentals. Yes, but a lot of the time, for a default search, not too precise, it's going to default to the usual suspects, right? So let's see how we can do this differently, right? And here, if I'm go a bit more budget, for example, or specific neighborhoods, it's guiding me a bit more into more recommendations by local websites, for example, right? Not necessarily portals, but local websites. So anyway, you can see here, classic. What's interesting here is that, and again, provide comparison, is that Perplexity also wants to beat Google on being your entry point to those searches, right? So think about this. I can't beat Google like this, but to beat them, what they want to do is to offer a new starting point. That's why they have a browser. So just like Google has Google Chrome, or you may be using Safari from Apple, Perplexity, this company, release its own browser, and we'll see why. Because with a browser, suddenly they can control your navigation, and this is where we have a lot of um, AI magic that can happen. It really can change the way people are interacting. So let me go to the browser. So it's a free browser called Comet that Perplexity has, and you can start using it. If I go to Comet, let me share this. Oh. So what you see now, maybe it's not very clear. It's a browser, right? Just like a browser called Comet. So by default, it's loading Perplexity as my entry point, a starting point, right? But of course, here I could do the same things I just did, enter a search and do things. What's magic here is the assistant. And I want you to look at this. So basically here, the assistant is what you call an agent. Basically, it will take actions for you. See here, I'm going through a query where I tell it to act as my travel agent, and using this browser, find and compare 5 apartments for a 5-night stay from Thursday 9 April to Monday 13th. I want a cost of 250 euros per night max. Remember, I live in Amsterdam, right? So I want to be a sunny place. I want to work from there. Should be within a 3-hour flight from Amsterdam. So here I did not give it destinations, right? I'm more like outcome. I want to work a bit in the sun in April. I can work remotely. I'm very happy to do that, and ask it to compare. So if you see what's happening, if you look at the screen, look at me. I think I may be frozen. I hope you can still hear me. I'm not typing, moving anything, right? My hands are in the air. It's just the browser taking over. So the assistant, right? This assistant is executing the search. First, they search for destinations. So 3 hours from Amsterdam. And then again, I didn't prompt anything, but they themselves say, oh, I'm going to go on Airbnb booking because I said apartment, which is good and bad, right? But again, because it's where the tools have to be trained on better more. And then basically what's happening is looking at destinations. For example, right now I can see it's in Lisbon because it's a 3-hour flight from here. And you can see all the, on the right-hand side, I'm going down. It's a bit small probably, but you can see everything it's doing. It's searching apartments, it's navigated to different destinations, and it's basically going to different destinations and trying to find options that fit my need. So it's going to run in the background. I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to let to David, and we'll see after David has presented the outcome of this search. But just hopefully what we're trying to convey here is that this kind of tool can even do the search by itself. Go to the pages, go to booking.com, Airbnb, or different websites. Yesterday, for example, I was doing a search. It went to Plum Guide. It went to a local portal in Barcelona. So the thing is, I can't really predict where it's going to go, though, right? But it's doing these searches by itself, and you can see it's taking over the browser in a way, right? I just let it go. You can think in the near future would be faster than this, but again, I will now have David show as part of the demo, and I go back in the end to show you the outcome we have, right? To be clear. So let me just stop sharing while it's still going on.
Excellent. Well, I think what we've seen at this point, Open AI is our next application. We've already seen Google AI mode and Perplexity, and I'm going to walk through some travel experiences on ChatGPT. So we've first thing I want to distinguish is the difference between chat mode and agent mode. And you can think of chat mode, which is what we've all been doing, chatting directly into ChatGPT. I have different depths of knowledge. I can either get an instant answer, do thinking, go into pro research grade, PhD level research if needed, but I'm planning a trip. I'm not trying to solve the world's problems, so I'll save some of those searches for later. But in this case, I'm going to be planning a trip to New Hampshire around Conway, which is a beautiful place in fall as well too. And this is kind of course, our classic chat where we're getting suggestions for options. It's going to summarize some of the listings and really just kind of provide overall information. It's not executing any particular action. We already We already know this. Now, Thibault started to show this a little bit with the Perplexity's comment browser, but I'm going to show you, if you haven't done this, it is a bit buried directly in ChatGPT. So carrying out a similar search or intent, you can actually click this plus button and have other options available to you. One of them being, of course, deep research or explicitly searching the web. But under more, you will see agent mode. And
David,
so
are you sharing your
agent
screen
mode
now?
is characterized by doing kind of separate live on the web real-time searches. It can do things like evaluating the trade-offs of actually visiting two different sites and ultimately showing you those results as well too. So here's kind of one that it's just going to again show you what's available, where it's going, even from a quality assurance of making sure your own website and, frankly, your own listings on OTAs are accessible. You can put in the URLs of your own websites just to see what's showing up.
David,
And yes,
can you hear me, David?
yes,
Just checking you're sharing your screen. Okay.
I am sharing my
Let's go
screen.
see.
Yes. Yep. Can you guys see it?
Uvika, can you see it?
I can, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so just me.
Okay.
Okay, good,
So
fine. Just checking.
yeah, no problem. So that's an example of kind of it doing the research, making sure that your properties are accessible. I'm going to do one more though. That again, we kind of need to make sure we're checking our own systems and our own listings out. I'm actually going to do an agent mode, just asking about the comparing. You can imagine a traveler, even once they find a property, it could be on your direct booking website, it could be on a listing on an OTA, where they actually paste in the URL of that particular property and do something like a comparison. Maybe they love the property. They want to see if it's cheaper somewhere else, if the cancellation policy is more generous somewhere else. And so we've done this to actually see, it's going to go through and pick out some dates as well too. And so this is what we're referring to as kind of autonomous work on our behalf. It's going to navigate around the page. It will enter in a check-in and check-out date to actually get a quote in order to evaluate the cancellation policy. So those are some examples of what we see people doing. And if you wanted to simulate that, either they're kind of setting the agent off to go do work while they go get coffee or go out for lunch, or do this kind of task in the background, or they're carrying it out directly in real time as well too. And you can imagine, so here it's kind of found the cancellation policy, and over the next several minutes, it'll actually go over and look at cancellation policies on other platforms, just like it is right now. It's the same platform because it's called Life's a Hoot, and it's in the same location, and it's going to compare and tell me ultimately, hey, as a traveler, if I'm considering booking this place, what has the most favorable cancellation policy, or even you can imagine which has the most favorable prices. And so given that, I'm going to actually turn it back to Thibault at this point to wrap up his part of the demo. But I would encourage you to check out agent mode and point it towards your website or your listings on OTAs and see how you're appearing there.
Thanks, David. And hopefully you're getting where we're going, right? The next session will be about how to influence this, but we really, really want you here to discover ways that this is changing, it's happening, right? Maybe through a chatbot, through agents. David really explained this very clearly, right? And here, what we're doing with Comets, we were just using an agent, right? I didn't want to use these big words, but now we're familiar with it, right? So here, again, it's a case where with Comets, the assistant here, the agent, if you will, is taking over my whole browser, and I can just have a coffee and come back. So here I got the results. Remember, I was like, find something within 3-hour flight where I could be look at this. I hope maybe it's small on the screen, so I think I should read a bit. But on the right-hand side, I got the results, right? Like, here are your 4-night work from Sunshine trip on the dates and 5 hand-picked Sally Airbnb apartments, so that is Airbnb, for 250 euro per night, Wi-Fi verified, workspace within 3-hour flight. So I got a handy table to compare things out. Why it's not doing this? Let me give it more room so it's easier to see. So you have a table to compare these 5 options we have in Lisbon, Malaga, Valencia, Seville, Athens. Here, what's interesting in a way, let's say it's a good way for me, even if I'm not going to end up pick this very listing, to give me options. You know what are within 3 hours, within my budget, even destinations from there I could explore, right? But at least it's give me a concrete example what's doable. Here you can see I got the Lisbon, the neighborhood, Estrela, price per night 99 euros, for example, for 4 nights 400, a rating of 4.94. And it's even the duration of the flight from Amsterdam, AMS, 2 hours and 35 minutes. And I got the details right here for this first listing in Estrela. And it tells me why it fits me, right? A sun-drenched Estrela apartments, the riverview balcony facing Cristo Rey, 125 megabytes fiber, Wi-Fi, perfect video calls, and Lisbon buzzing cafe culture right on a desktop, inspiring base. Revenue manager needs to recharge and stay sharp. Yes, it knows I'm in industry clearly. But same thing, you can see here, as just an example, but to me what's striking, and think about this, it can find a destination for me, take into account the duration of the flight, direct connection from my airport, and find something in my budget. So it's a great way for me to be able, I can have an idea of the budget and say, you know what, okay, for this price, Lisbon is interesting, and probably my follow-up thing would be, let's explore a bit more on Lisbon. And again, it took over, right? So that's why next time we'll see, well, that's great, it's kind of automated. Looks like I have even less influence on this. And it's going to be the goal of the next session, how to do this. All right, from there, what do you want to discuss? So hopefully this helps you see a few things we wanted to talk to you about. We talked about how the queries are longer. Like, for example, here I could make a very long query. I can turn on the microphone and dictate something very special. You know, I want to work from home and from the place. I don't know where to go, find something. It's a level of, and I got in the end a small table with the reviews, the price, the flights. It's incredible. But that's all, again, it's changing the way people are discovering. We'd be expecting this. But what we want again here is to talk a bit more about how you can take it for yourself, for your own company. So David already started sharing a few things you can be doing to see how you are showing up in these tools. Because that's the first thing we're doing today, right? Awareness. This tool exists. Use them for yourself. Tell your team to use them to see how you are showing up. Obviously, make it, if needed, a bit more precise, right? Look for your area, for example. Or why don't you say, compare my company name and that of 2 other companies, and what are the AI tools saying about them when they're comparing them. So there's all kind of angles you want to first try to map it out what's happening. What are other things Uvika and David, people could be doing here to make it useful for themselves, what we saw today? Mute.
David, you're on mute.
Yeah, thank you. If I may, I'd like to show one thing briefly. For those people who have their own websites and are able to access what's called Google Search Console. It's a completely free tool. There's Google Analytics and there's Google Search Console. And Google Search Console is really just the organic search results that include the traditional search results and AI mode. Now, when you first look at it, you can't actually see the difference between the two, but I've pulled up ours and we've been describing how the volume of words, the number of words that people are putting in to their search queries are longer and longer. Now, there's a way to get it at this. You could just look at your top search queries, or you could actually filter to see only the ones that are longer than 10 words. And so I have this expression that's up here. You can take, again, a screenshot of that or message me after. I'm happy to send it along. But this is a custom filter that says, hey, I want to only see the words, the phrases people are speaking these in that might even, and that are ultimately ending up either in an impression where somebody is landing, you're being shown in the search results, or it's a click where somebody was planning a weekend trip at a nearby state or national park. Now, we have content about each of these, which is why we're showing up and getting a click, but you start to get your head inside the mind of the traveler, someone who's looking to take a scenic fall foliage train ride across the US for memorable experiences. You could almost create a whole campaign around that. So I just wanted to highlight Google Search Console and using that custom query to filter out, to see these long tail terms that people are searching for. So that's Google Search Console. I think, Uvika, you have Google Analytics as another option.
Yes, before I go into Google Analytics, I also just wanted to get back to Thibault's point about, and because there's a question by Kevin in chat, and I think it is a very important question about how do I test for like my AI performance for my website. And David made a great point that you test by having a conversation with AI, by having a conversation with your chatbot. So a lot of this stuff might seem very obvious, but the question is, have you gone through these steps for your own listings, for your own property, for your own business? Right? You may know that this exists out in the world, but did you try to do a walkthrough of how someone might discover your business using AI, or even using any platforms that are using AI recommendation? You can ask ChatGPT to find properties in your destination. Does your direct website show up there? David was looking at the cancellation policy of this particular listing. Does your cancellation policy, is AI able to extract it? Is ChatGPT able to extract that? So there are all of these things. You have to step into the shoes of the traveler and think about what questions they're asking, and ask those same questions about your business. And the second part of this is obviously, like David already hinted at, Google Analytics. Google Analytics already Google's already tracking traffic you receive via AI tools. Two mainly, like for example, any traffic you get from ChatGPT, it is clearly labeled in your sources under analytics for any period, right? Where you see organic, you see direct, you see email, whatever other channels you're using to track your to get traffic. If you will also see ChatGPT if any traffic is coming your way through ChatGPT. Same goes for Perplexity as well. Funnily enough, Google's own traffic through AI mode is not clearly labeled and may get clubbed under direct traffic, but you can filter it through groups. I think, David, you were talking about it earlier. So there is a system you can set up to filter it and actually see traffic you get through AI mode as well.
So
yeah, there's the channel group is called AI-driven traffic. So if you go in Google Analytics to user acquisition, you will see a number of groupings. Often you're just looking by medium or source, but you can actually filter by channel group with AI, and you'll see AI-driven traffic there.
So I hope for everybody it's very clear, and thanks to David and Uvika on this. Our goal was like to help you see first how big is it, and you can see again for a direct booking websites how big is right now the traffic you're getting from these tools. And David said it's even labeled into Google Analytics. So ask your team, or ask if you have somebody doing this for you, ask this person to do this for you, make it very obvious. Because it's a way, to us, it's an eye opener. We saw with Google Search Console, you can even see the kind of, you can see this, how many, like the part of like very big queries, how they are hitting you, what we're looking for, right? But again, today, the goal was really for us to help you see the different tools that exist, from Google AI mode, Google basically forcing the adoption of AI to everybody, but also how, we don't know how search will win in the end, right? Could it be like Perplexity Travel, dedicated tools for travel? Who knows? Or like a browser, Google's going to do this as well, right? In Chrome, like have the browser live its life, and you enter a query and it's going to be itself. So as I said, what I didn't show is that somebody said joking, oh, maybe one day the AI, in the chat, I was reading this, the AI will book a place for itself. Yeah, well, sometimes I was doing a demo and my Amazon.com account was logged in, and I was like, do this, do that, and it did put something into my my basket, and Amazon almost paid because I was logged in into these tools. It can happen, and what can do right now, I can already start. If you have a website, you can completely get an inquiry right now for somebody saying, find a direct website of a property management company, find a contact form and send inquiry for blah. So you can completely today, you may not see this though, be getting even inquiries from people using their thing, and they will, because the tools knows, the browser knows them, they know their email address, knows all this because it's using the user profile, could already send you maybe inquiries by text already. As we know, booking properties is a bit more tricky because there's a lot of things that goes into the way, but it's not done far the line. Let's go to the Q&A indeed because we're at time. All right, so first question from Ruth. Please discuss what to do on our own website or an OTA to work with AI instead of keywords. Should we be writing more scenario description? That's next. It's exactly what you're thinking here. That's a hint. Yes, exactly right. Scenario based. So it does mean content need to be there. Content be available, rightly formatted. Again, we talk about this for a future session, but indeed that's where you're going, right? That's exactly the eye opener and what to do next once you have. Two from David. So how can we tell if AI is impacting our business outside of an OTA? We talked about this, Google Analytics, Google Search Console. I'm going fast through this. So David, Uvika, if you want to step in and do this. Third one, should we be doing something to our photos? The answer is yes, right? We know that, again, at PriceLabs, we developed a tool called Listing Optimizer. All these AI tools see your photos, they see the patterns on your photos, they can tell whether it's on a photo, whether it's a good photo or not. And they can use the photos for consistency. What I mean is basically, if your descriptions say you have a pool and there's no photo showing a pool, that would be a red flag for them. So probably somebody looking for in AI, I want a property with a pool. That property will not be shown because it's like consistent that you do have a pool, it's not showing in the photos. See what I mean? So consistency is important for this.
Thibault, the average number of photos per listing that we see on lake.com is 25, but some people have over 100 photos. They have a photo of absolutely everything. Now, whether it's for people or for that purpose of showing the fancy coffee machine, the kettle, the washer, the dryer, showing almost all of those amenities, the bookshelf with all of the games, you're making it obvious to people and elevating that sense of trust that you have these amenities, but you're also feeding, if you will, that image recognition algorithm that not only do you say you have them, you're proving it with the photo as well.
Completely. Next question. So seems like descriptive blog posts on our website helps to feed into AI mode responses thoughts. Yes, obviously, right. One of the first easiest thing that this vacuums, how we call this, that these things can, these AI tools can read and absorb is written content like blog posts. But blog posts are perfectly with their titles, headings, body, text. They're perfectly formatted for the AI tools to recognize them. So obviously, funny enough, if you have a case of a rental scale up, right, our traffic has multiplied. Why? Because we have blog posts, we have also transcripts from AI podcasts we have, or our videos. Anyway, a lot of these things, a lot of your content can create content that's read by these things and are signals that you are experts on a location. We'll talk about this next time, right? But it always comes down, what are signals that you are an expert on a certain location, for example, and that your properties are the right fit. Last question. I think most of us with websites with direct booking would like to optimize for moving guests away from the booking platform. Is that possible? I will start the first question, David, maybe you can continue. The thing I wanted to show you right now, by default, anyway, sadly, look like the tool by itself defaulted to looking at, I'm going to look at Airbnb and booking.com, right? And I told you sometimes I find more. Sometimes if I say, I want to find a place that with a great design because my partner cares about design and stuff, it will go to plum guides, to any kind of curated platform. You think I need to go beyond booking.com or Airbnb, for example, but you can tell it's this. So we see it is possible. maybe just like SEO, right? It's kind of hard to be on the first page for vacation rentals Florida. Can you show up for more precise queries like nearby a lake? I'm guessing that's probably possible. What do you think, David, on this one?
Absolutely. There is a great overlap between answer engine optimization, which we're touching on here, and search engine optimization. Some people say it's about as high as, 80, 90%. There are, of course, some nuances which we're going to touch, which can be that make or break moment. But what we've even witnessed here today is that these engines, these AI tools are going out to do a traditional search, right? They're kind of falling back if they don't have the knowledge in its, language model, its corpus of information already. It has to revert, especially for real-time, up-to-date information. So that's why SEO and this AEO concept are very tightly related. And so, yeah, I'd encourage people to rejoin RSU again for the next webinar on how to optimize your own direct booking websites and as well as your listings on OTAs.
Thank you so much, everybody, for attending. We're way over time, still 70 of you. David, if people want to connect with you, what's the best channel, the best way?
Yep, the best way would be on LinkedIn. I do try to post about and include visuals on different concepts and explain things as I'm learning them as well about new technologies within travel and vacation rentals specifically. And of course, our website, lake.com, welcome you to connect to your PMS, and we would love to be able to showcase your properties on the platform as well. Thank you.
That's great. And you have really great website, I must say. I spent some time on the website. It's very inspiring. I want to stay by your lake very soon. RSU team, Uvika, maybe people want to know more about you, connect with you. What's the best way?
First, quickly, if also just before the next workshop webinar, if you're interested, there's also an interview with David on the RSU YouTube channel. You'll already find some meat there in terms of optimization tips and tricks, because David got into it and it was super useful to me, which kind of sparked this entire conversation. So if you want to have a little taste, you can already go there. Of course, connect with him on LinkedIn. For me too, find me on LinkedIn, or just, you receive the newsletter from me every week. Just hit reply, and that's the perfect way to get in touch with me or with Thibault as well.
All right. So thank you all for attending today. Thank you, David, Uvika, Snigdha behind the scenes for organizing this event. Again, today was an eye-opener, different ways. Next time we try to go from like, it's happening to what can I do about it? Think about this, maybe share with your team these different tools, have them explore. We talked about this so that next time we talk about how you can influence things, you already know what you want to influence, right? You have an idea what's happening and where you want to show up. So hopefully it's been very useful to you. As usual, I wish you a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Thank you for attending, and take care of yourself. See you, everyone. Thank you.